Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. Woo! So yeah, Starlight is out here. You're gonna see some strange things because it's like somebody's got the light switch, you know, shade, sun, shade, sun. So don't be surprised. Of course, I don't even know if the sun is gonna shine in this spot anyway. It might be all shade for all I know. I don't know. So anyway, I love you all, and I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And there's times we gotta make ourselves do things, you know? Especially if you're a person that loves being inside a lot. That means you really, 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 really have to discipline yourself and get out. And the more you do that, the easier it gets. In the beginning, yeah, it's challenging. And how do I know this? Because I used to have issues a long time ago about getting out. You know, when you're going through depression, it's hard to get out of your bed when you're going through some shit. So it's a step-by-step process. If you're one of those people that are depressed, don't overwhelm yourself, number one. Just take one step at a time each day. One day, you get out of the bed. Next day, you know, get out of bed earlier. You know, next day, you know, just keep on finding different ways to stretch yourself, and eventually, you'll make your way outside. Go out for a half hour. Next time, you know, you kind of wean into, I don't know if the weaning is the way, but you just inch it a little bit more and more and more, you know, and eventually you'll be outside for a whole hour. And you'll feel amazing. And the next day, you just keep doing the same thing a little bit more, you know. So I love you so much. That is for people that really have a hard time. And I don't know what any of you ladies and men are going through. And it's not just the ladies going through this stuff. Men, women, we know they go through this stuff too, don't they? Yes, they do. You know, just because a man is a man, it doesn't mean that they don't have emotions. It doesn't mean that they have feelings. A lot of times women forget this stuff. You know, there's men that can be as sensitive as Starlight can be. So remember that, all of you, women and men, you know, so be gentle with the guys out there, you know. A lot of it's an act. You know, a lot of, you know, men and women, they put a show on, they act tough on the outside, you know, that's their protection shield. But really inside, you know, that's not really what's going on, you know. So anyway, I do love you all. And so, before I start this video, hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and you could find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget the notification bell, and you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you can share my videos with your family or friends. Plus, don't forget my playlist, and you can also find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. Now, if anybody would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ping, there it is. And a big, huge thank you to all of you, and thank you for anyone who has helped Starlight out. Maybe I met you, and Starlight is always, it's all about energy exchange. I'm always giving. And, you know, it's about a receive and give energy. And that's what we all need. It's not all about just taking. It's about giving back, you know. And it's just, we just keep doing this everywhere we go. There's some people, you know what, I seen a man wear a shirt today. And I was like, you actually, you know, he paid for this shirt to get made. It says that I'm not an ATM machine, you know, and it just was... I'm like thinking, well, you just spent how much money to get that shirt made? I don't know about that. So anyway, it says a lot about a person like that is when they wear a shirt like that. they might have a hard time giving. So the person might not know what it's like to struggle in life, or know what it's like out there, in the real world. And there are those people out there, they don't know what it's like. But those of you that are givers, God will bless you in ways that you don't know. Sometimes it's obvious, then other times we don't really know, but we got to trust that, you reap what you sow. So anyway, I love you all, and today is about, going with the flow and with the universe, that kind of a flow, not going with the flow with the world. That's where a lot of people are. That's why the wide way is the way to destruction. That's not, if you want to follow Jesus, that's not the way you want to go, is to follow the wide way, and that is the matrix. That is what locks people in to the system, to the program, to, control you. And that is what you want to be free from, is to not follow the way of the world, about material, having more stuff, going out to parties, doing drugs and alcohol, buying a new next thing, and then the next new thing, and and it never ends, and keeping up with all the Hollywood stars and all that stuff. That is the way of the world, where you're so drawn into what the Hollywood stars are doing, and watching what they're doing and idolizing them, worshiping them and acting like that is why we're here. No, those are people. There's a lot of beautiful people, don't get me wrong, but most of those people that are Hollywood stars sold their soul not to Jesus, not to God. It's a different kind of God. I don't remember the name of that kind of God, but there is lots of gods out there. But, they signed a contract, even the military people, they signed their souls, away when they joined the army or the military forces. So, you don't want to go the wide way, because it's the way of destruction. And so going with the flow with the universe. And what this takes really is, I made videos about signs and stuff like that. And going with the flow with the universe takes patience. It takes sitting with yourself, clearing out your chakras. That way you have clarity to find out, what the universe wants you to do. The more spiritual you get, or praying about things and, not getting ahead of God, the universe, or whatever, is that you want to go with the flow. Like there's a stream of water. Actually, I'm going to turn this baby around. I didn't think of that until now. If I can do this. We're going to do it if we can. Starlight's like, we are going to do this. So, there we go. So, that way you have a nice visual of going with the flow. If I only can get this locked in here. So yeah, going with the flow is just like the stream of water that Starlight is sitting next to. And I love sitting next to water, but, you don't want to go against the current, And my whole life, what? I was in charge, and it's good to be in charge. Isn't it good to be in charge? But you know what I found out on this? You don't want other people to be in control of your life. And that is what's going on with a lot of people out in the world, is that they're letting other people control them. Some people are out there being manipulated by people that they love. And I used to be that person. I was being manipulated, either in relationships or family members or people that, I really didn't know very well. So you got to be the driver in your life. And when I say that, like I was saying, is that there's people that are in relationships, and I just, I never thought of it until just the other day, is I do know people where, it kind of revealed a lot to me, and I didn't realize it, because if you have a dream, and maybe you could leave me a message down below. How many of you had a dream of you being in a car, but are you in the driver's seat in the car, or are you in the passenger seat of the car? Or are you in the back? Where are you in the car anyway? So depending on where you are in the car, it determines about your reality, when you're awake. So like in a dream state, if you had a dream and you're in the passenger seat and somebody else is driving, I'll tell you what, that means that you're not in control. That who do you know who the person is that is driving the car? Some of the guys are saying, yeah, my wife is. What? Your wife is driving you? Your wife is driving the car? But that happens, and some of you women are like, well, my husband was driving a car and we were riding together. So you got to be careful with that, and you got to ask yourself, is that person really in control of am I giving my power over to that person? Now, there's times that we can do that, but do you trust that person? Do you trust that person's choices in life? Are they going where you want them to take you? And I've been a passenger in cars most of my life when it comes to relationships. I've always been the passenger. If I had a car, so the man was always driving, because I always believed Starlight had the fear of driving around anyway, but look at me now. Now I'm all around the United States doing this on my own without a man. But, you got to think of who's controlling your life right now. And what you want to really do is to, it's okay if somebody else is, in the driver's seat driving and you're in the passenger seat, but do you trust them? Because I've actually had a dream of that, and it was my twin flame driving. Do I trust my twin flame to guide me in this reality? Yes, I actually do. I do trust him. You know why? Because he's been doing this longer than me, and we're going the same direction. So you got to know for sure if you trust that person. Now, if you trust that person with your life, like I do with my twin flame, then it's okay. But we also are gonna, but what you want is, just like me being in a twin flame relationship, is that I know that the universe is in control of him, and that is what's important. Who's in control of the person that's in, you might give control over to somebody else, but you still have your own individual walk with yourself that you want to make sure that they don't totally take control over every aspect of your life. So you got to make sure you take your power back and make sure you're the one, where are you going? You want to make sure, no matter who you're in a relationship with, or in contact with, you want to make sure you're heading in the same direction. You don't want to follow somebody if they're, going the way of the world. If they're going in the way of the world, is that the way you want to go? And if it is, okay, I can't stop you. But I just recently realized, I'm like, oh my, yeah, I do know somebody that's married, and, she's the one that's driving, the car. And a lot of times people don't really feel safe about driving, so they'll let somebody else drive a car. But if you feel safe with that person, knowing that, hey, you know what, I trust him. I've been with this person for a long time, and I trust their decision making. Hey, that's good. But going with the flow is, making sure that you're in alignment with the universe, God. And so number one, you want to make sure you're in control of your life, or that you're, the person that you might have somebody that's guiding you and helping you to go the same direction. That's great. But if they're not, you got to take your power back from those kind of people. make sure, hey, you're not going, we're not going the same direction. You might have to really think about those kind of friendships or relationships that you're in. Are they really the ones that you want to, keep going down like this stream, in life, in this journey of life? Are they taking you, in the opposite direction, going against the current? And that's what you got to question yourself. Are they going against everything that you are and who you're becoming? Because a lot of people in relationships, they grow apart. There's somebody that's working and they want to change, and they're working hard to, become their greatest version or be the change that they want to see in the world. And then the other person are like, I don't really care about all what you care about. I want to watch TikTok all day long. I want to watch sports all day long. I want to gamble all day long. I want to, spend all my money and buy, a bunch of material stuff. You got to really question, are they the one for you? Because if they're the way of the world and you're going the way, on a path in life, to get closer with God or Jesus or whatever, is that you might not be the right one. We can always talk to those people and see if they want to go in our direction, but they might be set in their ways and they might, like where they're heading. And you gotta figure that out. Are they going the same direction like this stream of water, or are they going the opposite direction? And when it comes to going with the flow, is like with myself, is, I pray about things and I ask for guidance, and then I'm being guided. And it's not a struggle. And I'm not saying you don't have challenging times, because I'll get messages from the universe, and the universe will tell me that, there's going to be changes coming up. And sometimes I get messages like, yeah, there's going to be changes, and you got to adapt to these changes, Starlight, and it will help you out. It will help you on your spiritual journey here. So, I'm just letting you know, heads up, you're going to be facing some changes. The universe will tell me that, there's times, many times, the universe will tell me that I need to, that I got to let go of something. And that could be anything. It could be a letting go of an old version of myself. And that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But, and it's great to ask for guidance, ask for clarity, ask for wisdom, and sitting with yourself, praying, is a good way of going with the flow. Now, if you, and this is the big, huge problem in the world, is many people are impatient. Like I've been on the road, and I'm in the slow lane, I'm in turtle lane, doing actually the speed limit. If it says 55, Starlight's either, going 55 or in between 60, up to 60. And then what I've been doing, and I love what I've been doing, because it gets people off my back, because I'm taking my power back. And that goes even as far as when I'm driving on the road, is I'm not letting people push me around anymore, even on the thruway or on a road. You know what? There's 3 other lanes. I'm in the slow turtle lane, I'm putting my head, if they get right on my ass, I put the hazard lights on, letting them know I'm not going any faster. You're not pushing me. Not very long ago, Starlight would get on the thruway and, be in a slow lane, doing the speed limit, It's like, you're not going to get me to break the law and get pulled over and get a ticket, because you want to get, and I tested this out a long time ago, is they're really not getting anywhere faster. They think they are, because many times in my past, there was a person that I was going out with, and he loved the speed. He was a reckless driver. Those are the ones that, you got to watch out for, the road rage and all this stuff. And so it's kind of funny, is because I wouldn't speed. I was doing the speed limit. We would go on the same road, go to, start at the same spot, end at the same place, and get there at the same time. How did that happen? How did that happen? And I would laugh every time, I was just, right behind them in the driveway, getting back at the house, It wasn't like, they really got there any quicker than me. So it really isn't really worth to try to really break those speed limit signs. And a lot of times what it is people are not thinking about other people's safety. So you gotta really know where you're going in life. Where are you going? What path, like on the stream of water. Say if this is the stream, that leads you to God, is that where you want to go? Great. Hey, but not everybody wants to go the same way you're going. And that's why it's so important that you know the people that you're with, even your family. It could be your family or your people that you think are your friends. Are they really your friends? Are you both going the same direction like the stream of water? Or are they going, backwards? And are they trying to pull you, going up the stream? It's hard to go up, even if of course you're not going to swim in this water here. It's not deep enough. Even though you could swim, depending on the stream of water. There's streams of water, it's like, trying to go against the current. It's not easy. That means, like if you're going against everything that God already has planned for you, you're going to have some challenges. You're going to, a lot of things are not going to go smooth. It's going to be a rough ride. I'm just going to let you know that ahead of time. It's going to be a rough ride if you go against what God wants you to do. And that's why if you want to go with the flow and go where God wants you to be, and that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of people, what they do, and I was doing this all my life until years ago, is I was doing it my way. I didn't know what the blank I was doing. I was just thinking this is what I need to do. But you know what? That was an old version of myself. My old version of myself didn't even know what the heck to do. And my old ways of thinking weren't, really going along with the way God thinks. And, so those old programs that I was living off of, just like you using a 3G phone or a 4G phone, like my phone goes 4G, 5G, 4G. Of course, when it's in a 4G, things are slow. It's not, my phone is crappy, I might get the internet, might not, some things it will work, some things it won't work. Like if I try to go on Canva to edit videos or edit pictures or whatever, it might not work in the 4G. And so that's why you gotta make sure, where are you? Are you living off in the old program that's no longer serving you? Because that's how this matrix is. It got us all programmed to live off a system that doesn't even work, and the system is crashing. So if you're living off an old program, it's not going to work. It's going to take you in places, and it's going to trip you up, just like the matrix is what they've done our whole life, So if you want to go with the flow, you can't be in a rush. You gotta, pause. Sit with yourself. Really ask God, talk to God, spend time with God, pray to God. Whatever name that you call God, or you want to talk to Jesus, talk to Jesus. I also, I talk to God. I also talk to the universe. I pray to archangels, for guidance, because that's what they're here for. There's a lot of Christians that will go against that. There's other Christians that I've talked to. They're like, yes, the angels are there with you to help you. And I'm like, wow, you actually understand. Because the angels were there in the Old Testament. I remember reading that, Were they in the New Testament? Were angels there? So be careful what you're told, because that could trip you up if you believe the wrong things. Yeah, that's going to really screw you up in life if you, living off of programs or, that are not working. You're not going to get anywhere. But if you want to go where God wants you to go, and you got to go with the flow, the way the universe wants you to go, and that means you got to sit with yourself. That means you got to pray. You can ask for discernment. You can ask for guidance. Ask Archangel Gabriel, can you please guide me? Or ask God, I'm asking for clarity. You don't know what to do about something. It doesn't mean that you got to, you can jump into it, because you don't want to live by fear. But you'll find out, it's better than to jump in than to sit back and not do anything. You got to make a decision. Like if you're at a fork in the road, are you going to take a left or a right? And you only got a period of time to make up your mind. Well, what are you going to do? Is it left or right? You got to do something. So it's good to pray about it and ask for guidance and say, but you know what happens a lot with a lot of us, counting Starlight? If you got a lot of negative energies in your body, you've been hanging out with the wrong people, and now you're asking for clarity and all that stuff, you got to really learn how to meditate, because people pick up stuff and they're not even aware of that they're picking up this low vibrational energy, and it has a way of tripping you up where you don't get clarity. If just like a dream, like the other morning I was driving and it was foggy out, couldn't see shit. It's like, wow, it's foggy out here, can't see anything. And then you got to ask for clarity, and you don't need to be in a rush, but there's some times you only got so much time to make up your mind. So you don't want to go the way of the world. You want to go with the flow, like the stream of water. And praying really does work, but you got to be patient. A lot of times people are not patient. They're like, you got to look for the signs. They're all around you. Listen to what people tell you. God can use somebody and tell you something. Even, God could even use somebody that is an enemy to you. You might love that person, but God will use all kinds of ways of getting your attention and guiding you. But if you don't pay attention to symbols and numbers, do you see the number 777, 555, 1111, 101010? It could even be 55. We're always seeing repeated numbers, but a lot of times people are so distracted they're not paying attention. Those are ways that you can get guided. And like with me, I don't move unless I know that the universe wants me to go. When I get the okay, then I go. But if I don't get the okay, then I stay until I get a green light. Some of you, like, today I saw this, I'm like, oh my, you went right through a red light. Yellow lights, I don't even like going through a yellow light. I really don't. If it's a yellow light, I'm the one that you're cursing at, because I'll stop. I really don't like it, because I don't know how long, sometimes we get on yellow lights and we really don't know how long it was already yellow. I don't want to put myself at risk, and I don't want to put other people at risk of getting in a car accident. And that's what happens to a lot of people, is that they're impatient and they go through red lights, or they go through a light that, I'm amazed. I've gone through yellow lights in my life, of course, and I'm so blown away. It was a solid yellow light when I went through, and the person behind me went through the same light, and another person, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, how the frick did that happen? How is it possible that we're all going through this light when it was yellow, full yellow? It just, it was green and it turned yellow when I went through. That's how I would do it, if it's already been green and it turns yellow. But then, a person behind me went through it, and another person, you can't tell me all three of us made it through a yellow light without it turning, red. So that's the thing, is that you don't want to get ahead of God, because now you're back in it, you're taking control. You want to really give the power over to God and let God be the driver of your life. But besides that, you really want to be a driver of your own life and not have other people be driving you, unless you really know that person well enough to know, are they safe? Are they going in the same direction am I going? And if they are, that's okay, but you don't want them to be in control of every aspect of your life. You gotta, have that, figure out, if you want to wear makeup, wear makeup. If you don't, you don't. You don't want people controlling every aspect of your life. If you want to have a beard and it looks weird, you want it, have it, You don't want people to control those things in your life, So anyway, I love you. And hang on, I don't know how this is going to look. Whoa! So Starlight's got to raise this up a little bit and adjust this thing. So yes, you can go with the flow. You really want to go with the flow where the universe is going, because I'll tell you what, you do that, you will never lose. I'm not saying it will be easy, but that's the way you want to go. You know, you can ask God to please guide me. You don't have to do it all on your own. God would love to guide you. But you got to listen, you know. I hear birds right now. What are you hearing? You know, there's signs all the time. What do you see? You know? And you don't want to get ahead of God. You don't want to go through those red lights, you know, getting ahead, you know, being impatient. You gotta be patient on this journey. And there's times things are not going to go the way you plan, and that's okay, because it wasn't God's plan. You really want God to be the driver of your life, period. Or if somebody is driving you, you know, like in a dream, you want to make sure that God is driving them, because then you know you're all going in the same direction. So anyway, I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and peace.